Welcome and thanks for joining me. If you're watching this, you're about to take your first look at what's next for Netready. Today is a guided walkthrough of Netready 3.0, and I want to set expectations right up front. This is not a minor update. It's not a few improvement release. It's a platform level shift, the kind of step change you usually only see when a product moves from one generation to the next. Now here's the best part. You won't need to rebuild your site. You will not need to spend nights reordering your pages, redoing your pages, reconnecting the integrations, or trying to figure out what's changed. Your site and the system will continue to work perfectly. This is an upgrade, and we are handling it in a way that protects your business. When doing an upgrade of this size, the goal is not speed. The goal is stability. So we are releasing Netready 3.0 cautiously in stages, and I'm saying that up front so that you know what to expect. Some of you have already agreed to take part in the early adoption rollout and will obviously get access first, but we will then widen the rollout step by step and see everything is performing exactly as it should in the real world. So if you don't get it on day one, you're not missing out. You're being protected from the risk that comes with rushing into a big rollout. Now, if you watched our last State of the Platform update, you may remember that we already showed you some of the new features, but that was in a development build. It works totally different in a live build because it's now polished. It's different. Today we're going to see what it looks like finished, clean, tested. In other words, this version we are confident of putting into your hands. And here's what we're going to cover in this presentation: the new multilingual capability and what it means for building and managing a client experience across multiple countries and languages. The new design engine, which changes how quickly you can build, adjust, and design your site to keep on brand. And several quality of life upgrades that remove friction from the day-to-day workings, small things that add up to a much faster workflow. So in a moment, I'm going to bring in a demonstration from Ryan, our CTO. You will see him walk through the system step by step. And I'll also guide you through what you're looking at and why it matters. Here's my promise for the rest of this video. I'm not going to throw features at you. I'm going to show you what changes in the daily workflow, how these changes can be leveraged, and why Netready 3.0 is faster, smoother, and much more scalable. So as you watch this, please keep in mind a few questions. Will these updates remove friction, and will they make my business more profitable and scalable? Because the purpose of Netready 3.0 is simple: less friction, more speed, more reliability, more scale. All right, let's dive in and see what Ryan has to show you.
AI has totally eliminated language and culture as a barrier to entry. And John was just talking about a moment ago how we have access to loads and loads of users, and we can see their data and we can see what they're doing. And that gives us this amazing view of what is working and what is not. And one of the things that I've noticed is that we have some of our most successful clients operating in different languages and in different cultures because it's a lot easier to stand out when you are not targeting first world English-speaking countries exclusively. Now, there's nothing wrong, of course, with targeting first world English-speaking countries, but everybody's targeting first world English-speaking countries. And as a result, the competition is fierce. You've got higher ad costs because more people are competing for the keywords and audiences that you're targeting. And then, of course, you just have loads and loads of competition. So you've got to stand out. Your funnels have to be absolutely on point. There's a lot that you have to do to make sure that you differentiate from the 9 bajillion other companies who are working in that same industry or targeting those same countries and cultures. Now, until this moment, until very recently, the only way that you could target a global audience was by actually, or not a global audience, but targeting a local audience, a non-English speaking audience, is if you yourself were able to speak another language and build funnels in another language and build your courses and programs in another language. But AI has basically eliminated language as a barrier to entry entirely. And so there's going to be this window of time where not everybody is doing this, but there's an opportunity potentially for you to start doing it. So there's just something that I want you to think about, and I'm going to share my screen and just show you what I'm referring to specifically. So I'm Going to share my screen. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to play you a video that Heather made. This is just an excerpt from one of our training videos. And what I want you to do is pay attention to Heather's voice, pay attention to Heather's mouth and her lip movements, and then just look at the language at the bottom. So here we go.
In this training series, I'm going to show you all of the different features of the admin area of the system. Ti mostrerò come configurare e gestire il tuo account, come creare account per il personale, come impostare I metodi di pagamento e altre cose simili，才能真正实现全面运作。我还会向你演示如何在系统的各个不同区域之间进行导航。Bu serinin ilk videosunda kendi kişisel hesabınızı yönetmeye başlamakla işe koyulacağız. O halde başlayalım.
So, I mean, I don't know if that blows your mind, but it blows my mind completely. Not only did AI match her voice so that her voice continued to play in these different languages, but it obviously matched her lip movements to the language so that you can actually create. And just imagine this as a course creator or content creator. You can take your whole course that you've built, you've recorded, you're on camera, speaking to your first world English speaking audience, and you can make a Dutch version of that and target the Netherlands with that. You can create a Spanish version of that and target Spain with that. And you can become a big fish in a small pond. If you start targeting these audiences, there is not a huge amount of competition, ad costs are lower, and it's a lot easier to stand out. So imagine using AI tools to translate your programs and so on in that way. Now, the next step, because you don't have to know how to speak these languages, the AI tools just do it automatically. The next layer on top of this is obviously making your system a multi-language, multicultural system. And that's what I'm going to show you right now. So this is something, by the way, that none of our competitors really do.
Guys, how cool was that? And I know on the surface, you might be thinking, cool, we can do multiple languages. But in MLM business, this isn't a nice extra. It's one of those things that decides whether going global feels easy or feels like pain. Because the second you go into another country, language isn't preference anymore. It is the difference between momentum and confusion. If somebody can't understand the offer, they won't buy. If a new distributor can't understand what to do next, they won't start. And if your platform only speaks one language, your support team becomes the translation engine, and let's be honest, nobody wants that. But here's what really matters. A lot of platforms say they're multilingual, but what they mean is that you can translate a page, maybe a headline, maybe a few buttons. Then you click into the rest of the system and suddenly you're back in one language again. So the experience feels broken, if I can put it that way. What we've done with Netready 3.0 is different. We've treated language like the foundation, not a patch, across modules, across interactions, across the whole journey. So people aren't forced to figure it out halfway through. And that's why I can say with absolute certainty, we're in a different league here. What you've just seen is actually incredible, and it's game changer in my opinion. But the next section is just as important because it shapes how people see your company from the very first click. Let's face it, most of your distributors won't ever walk into head office or meet you in person. They may stay across town, in another state, another country, or even on a different continent. For them, their whole impression of the company comes from one place, and that's your website. And we all do this, right? If a page feels clunky or slow, messy, outdated, you don't think, oh, maybe the tech is old. What you think is, this company isn't serious. That's the real game. So we've put a lot of effort into the next part because this is the part your field touches every day, the Netready page builder. And the goal was really simple, to help you build pages that look premium, load fast, and convert properly without needing a designer and without fighting the tools. So when you watch this next section of the demo, look for how fast you can build, how easy you can stay on brand, and look for the polish because the polish becomes your credibility. All right, let's jump back into the demo.
And I'm just going to show you some of the multi-language capabilities and how we're using AI to allow you to target these local audiences and use that to expand your reach and, grow sales, etc. So I'm going to do a very simple demo here. You can see that I'm now on a website and we have this flag. And when you have a look at this flag, you can see I've got English and I've got Japanese for my website. So what I'm actually going to do quickly is I'm just going to go back to the admin area. I'm going to go to setup. I'm going to go to languages. and I'm going to add a new language. I'll add, okay, I don't know how to speak any of these. So let me just grab, okay, I'll do Spanish. Okay, I'm going to go back to my website. And you can see that we've got one that isn't yet published, and we've got English and Japanese. Now, we've got this website, this little web page that I built in English. And now I'm going to go over to the Japanese version of this page. And you can see a couple of things here. You can see that not only has the text been localized, but the images are localized, the videos are localized, the colors are localized. And again, this is not something that you can do with any of the other platforms in our space. With other platforms, the way that you would have to do this is build your entire business once for every different language, and then have complex manual redirect rules to redirect people to the appropriate language and all sorts of stuff like that. It is very close to impossible, if not impossible, to do that. Whereas with us, I just added this new language, and I can now go to that language. It automatically inherits the design from the base language. And then I can go ahead and I can just customize every aspect of the business, not only the text, but the colors, the videos, etc. And then when I flip between the different cultures, you can see that each culture now has its own design, its own flavor, its own language. But you don't speak the language, so you need AI to actually localize all of this for you. So I'm not going to get too into the weeds, as I mentioned, but I'm just going to go quickly over here to the languages area in the admin area. And you've got this translate button, and you can literally click translate, and that is going to translate your website into the different languages that you've enabled using AI. And the beautiful thing about doing this using AI as opposed to Google Translate is that AI has completely leveled up the degree to which natural language can be translated. So if you click the translate using AI button, the chances are high that the Japanese and Spanish version will have better text than the original English version that you actually wrote. So using this approach, you can basically localize your entire business using AI, and it doesn't stop just with localizing of text and your website. You can also localize your training programs, your videos, absolutely every part of your business. And so between the tool that I just showed you, where you can localize your training content and then upload that into the system, plus what we're releasing over here, you are literally going to be able to target, as an English-speaking individual, any local culture that you'd like, regardless of your ability to speak that language. Now, there are other things that we are bringing into this as well, because you might think, well, what happens if they log a support ticket? What happens if they're chatting with me through live chat or something, and I've got to now support these people who are, Spanish speakers or Dutch speakers, or how's that going to work? And the way that we're building this is that when it comes to, for example, customer support, the customer will type their message in their native language. They'll type their Spanish message to you. You will receive it as English. You will then respond to it in English, and they will receive it as Spanish. So it's literally eliminating from end to end language as a barrier to entry. In addition to eliminating language as a barrier to entry, it's also leveling up what is possible with our page builder. So the new version, the admin area is not necessarily going to be too different. There's a lot of upgrades coming in the admin area, but most of the work that's gone on has related to the website builder. And what we want to do is give you the ability to create more beautiful websites, more beautiful landing pages for your funnels, pages that convert higher, more beautiful membership sites for your programs. Basically create a business that looks and feels incredible, and do it in such a way that you, as a non-designer, because most of our customers are not designers, they are marketers. So we want to give you, as a non-designer, the ability to create a really beautiful business, one that you want to share with people, that your customers are excited to be part of. And so we've done a lot of work in the page builder to bring to level up our game to the level of the best page builders in the world. I've spoken about this previously, but I'm going to I think it bears repeating. I think that our page builder at the moment, in my totally unbiased opinion, is definitely the leader in our space. But there are specialist page builders out there like Framer and Webflow and those sorts of page builders that are really, that's all they do, that I think are better than our current page builder. And what we're doing with this new version of our page builder is we are taking it up to that level. Not only are we going to be the best in our industry, but we are hopefully, again, in my totally unbiased opinion, we are going to be the best in the world. And we're doing this with you, the non-designer, in mind. So the idea here is simplicity, ease of use, speed to result. That's really what we're focusing on. So we are going to be upgrading all of you onto this new version, but it's going to happen in stages. Okay, so in the first iteration of the new builder, let me just open all these things up. So what I was basically saying is that when you move around a funnel at the moment, it's quite a laborious process. You'll go into a page, you'll make your changes, then you need to go to the next page. So you've got to exit out of that, go back to the visual page builder, find the next page, go in and out. Likewise, if you're in a website and you want to navigate around the website, you have to open the page manager, find the necessary page, click it if you want to move again. So it's just quite a difficult process. So the new version of the page builder includes an on funnel or on website navigator, so you can move between the different pages of your site without going back to the visual page builder. And again, this is just such a huge time saver. It's crazy. So you can see over here that we have an opt-in page, a bridge page, then we have 2 paths that lead to 2 additional pages. And when I'm busy building out my funnel, I can now just I can see my opt-in page. I can then go to the bridge page, set that up. I can then look through my yes path, go in there, set it up. So you can just move around your website really quickly. And it's just wild how much time that saves. And the same thing applies to the actual website. Navigating around your site to set everything up now all just happens directly on site without having extra pop-ups or anything like that. Great, so that's update number 1. Now, the second thing I want to talk about is global styles for this first version. Now, in the old version, this is actually a huge update that you may not fully appreciate until you actually start using it. But in the old version of the system, or the current version of the system, you've got very limited styles. You can have 1 accent color for your website. You can have 1 style for your headings. So you've got this very rigid set of styles. And then whenever you want to customize something, you can choose either that from that rigid list of styles, or you can create some sort of custom style for that particular element. And as a result, things become quite inconsistent because each thing is designed individually, etc. Whereas on the new system, there's no limit to how many styles you can have. So I'm going to go over to the styles area. And I'm just going to show you a couple of things. So instead of having 1 accent color for your site, you can now add as many accent colors as you want. So I'm just going to add an additional one. We can make this red. And I'm going to call this, so this is my special color. I'm going to add a folder. I'm going to call this one text, for example. Maybe I'll make another color called headings. And I'll put the headings color inside the text folder. So you can create a collection of colors and styles and typography settings and link settings. And then if you want to customize something, so for example, you want to update your color of your headings, you can then go and choose the color from your pre-designed list of colors. So again, instead of a single very rigid set of styles, you now have absolute freedom to create hundreds of styles, or as many as you need. Now, this is going to be really useful. It's going to be a massive time saver. It's going to allow you to create much more consistent websites. But the place that it really is going to be great is when you apply templates. Because again, as a non-designer, you don't necessarily want to have to go through and set all of that stuff up. So the way that this is going to work is you'll be able to apply your page templates or your website templates. And when you do that, it's going to come out the box with a collection of colors and typography, like a working color palette and a typography palette that works. And so from that point onwards, whenever you're designing your website, instead of having to think, oh, well, what colors should I use here? And you add a new block, and what font sizes should I use here? You'll literally be able to choose the appropriately labeled item from the drop-down list. And it basically takes the need to overtly design out of the equation. Now, the place that this is even more beneficial and impactful is inside of funnels specifically. Now, this is just completely transformational. And again, until you start using it, you may not be able to appreciate the full impact that this will actually have day to day when you're building out your funnels. But let me just try to illustrate it to a small extent. When you apply your template to your funnel, it applies the set of styles to the entire funnel. So when you apply additional templates to subsequent pages inside of your funnel, it automatically remembers the typography and the colors and everything that you set up in one place. So this literally doubles the speed, triples the speed, or even more of creating funnels inside of our systems and designing them from end to end. And this is the first step on the path to AI actually generating end-to-end funnels for you. So we're going to do one final thing, and this is global publishing. This is another thing that I think is going to really help. So I'm just going to make some changes on a few different pages here. So one of the challenges that people had in the past is that they would make changes on a number of different individual pages to get their funnel right, and then they would have to publish them, and they would forget which pages were published and which pages weren't published. And so they'd think their funnel's working, but there'd be something that wasn't quite published or wasn't published, and so it wasn't looking right to users. And there were things like that. So the new way that we do publishing is that when you publish, you don't have to find each individual unpublished page. You publish your funnel as a whole. So you saw there that I made a couple of changes to a few different pages. There were some others that I hadn't published previously. So now when I click publish, it tells me I'm going to publish some style changes. It's going to update the bridge page, the checkout page, the opt-in page. So it gives you a breakdown of everything that's going to be published. You click the publish button, and your whole funnel, the way that you see it, your customers now see it as well. And this is something that we did in response to some real world challenges and tickets that were logged, where people were saying, well, this person is reporting X, but I'm looking at it and it looks like this. And it's just that things were not being published, and it was a pain to go through and find every instance of that. So global publishing for funnels and for websites. So when you publish a website, it'll publish that whole website. When you publish a funnel, it publishes that whole funnel. We are, as I said, releasing this over a few stages. And what we have over here is a full rebuild of the system, similar functionality with a collection of optimizations and things that are just going to make your life easier and faster. There's a collection of really sexy features like components and layout. And these things are going to be released in their simplest form in this next version. And then we're going to, in rapid succession, release a couple of additional versions that will bring those to the foreground. So what you're going to get after this upgrade is the multi-language functionality, and you're going to get a massive improvement to the ease of use of the whole system. And then as we release the next few iterations, which will again come out rapidly after this first version, that's when you're going to be able to achieve more outcomes, and there are going to be some of the really powerful features on the back of that.
So guys, there you have it. You can see now why I'm so fired up about Netready 3.0. It's not just a great system, it's in a league of its own. And the crazy thing is, we're only getting started. Our goal isn't to be world class. Our goal is to build a system so far ahead of the opposition that nothing even comes close. I honestly hope you enjoyed this walkthrough, and I hope you feel the same excitement I am about where this platform's going, because what you've seen today is just the foundation. And over the next few months, the changes are going to be absolutely extraordinary. Guys, if you're not already using Netready, I'd really encourage you to click the link below and connect with one of our account executives. And don't worry, we won't drop you into some crazy sales pitch. It's simply a conversation. We'll get to know what you do, you'll get a proper feel for who we are, and together we'll see if Netready is the right fit for your business. Before you go, can I ask you a tiny favor? Would you please hit the subscribe button, give this video a like, or maybe share it with somebody who might find it helpful? I know it doesn't seem like much, but it makes a bigger difference than you can imagine. Your support genuinely helps us reach more people and give the platform a real boost. Thanks again for being here. I appreciate your time, and I can't wait to show you what is coming next.